Here we go. Hey everyone, Lisa Haverly here, Rainbow Tree Therapies, and I'm excited to bring on today two OTs who are doing just amazing work supporting families on the home front, and also supporting therapy clinics as well, but we're going to focus on what they do for families. And they will introduce themselves a little bit, but my whole goal today and really wanting to do more of this is sharing resources for families. Because, I acknowledge that we at Rainbow Tree can't do everything, but I know things that are important. And I know that where it really matters, where we can work together. And that if you have resources at home, that will just support your child even more. And so that's what I'm hoping to share with you today, are these two beautiful, energetic entrepreneurs and OTs that started Sensational Spaces. And so I'm just going to have them introduce themselves a little bit. They live across the border in Minnesota, but they're going to give a little bit about their background. So I'll invite Alexi to go first.
Yeah, thank you so much again for having us today, Lisa. We're thrilled to be here with you guys. We love what you're doing over at Rainbow Tree, and has been so fun connecting with you the couple times that we've gotten together. So Marlee and I co-founded Sensational Spaces, like you said. We work with families, community organizations, schools, clinics, you name it, and supporting with developing sensory-friendly environments to support your unique needs. So for some people, it might look like a small space retreat that's very like calming and regulating in that ways. And for others, it might be a large movement space. We really tailor it uniquely to your needs based on the intake, assessment, and our clinical reasoning as well. As you said, we're both pediatric occupational therapists with many years of experience that transcends a wide array of backgrounds, and we use that knowledge in addition to the many continuing education courses we've taken um, to really support making appropriate recommendations for each individual family that we work with.
Awesome. Thank you. And Marlee, did you want to add
Yeah,
something?
I am Marlee. So I am the other co-founder of Sensational Spaces. Alexi covered what we do perfectly. Like she said, we're both pediatric occupational therapists. We both still treat actively. We feel that that's very important to continue and stay in the field and know what our clients and families are really seeking, and to know the most up-to-date technology and home modifications to best meet our clients' needs. And so we're excited to share a little bit today more of what we do and how we do it and some tips and tricks for you guys.
Yeah, awesome. And so what they're saying then is they come into your home and they would provide some tips, a plan, or even implementation of creating a home space that can really support the therapeutic process. So that is what they do. And I met them at a conference and just love their energy, and they are all in. I can tell you that, and they have a strong commitment to making a difference. And so that's why I'm introducing them to my Rainbow Tree family. And so I do have some questions that they're just going to provide some answers to that maybe can help you, even if you don't seek them out further. So the first question is, what have you found that caregivers and families struggle with the most when supporting a child or their children at home that might have some sensory processing or motor challenges?
Well, I think one of the big things that we oftentimes see, both as therapists and also in doing our work with sensational spaces, is that so often kids are really regulated and put together, so to speak, at school or at their OT, speech therapy, whatever their services might be. They're making great gains in those areas and they come home, and oftentimes that's where they have the biggest struggle. And we like to say, we say this quite frequently, is that you're their safe space. So at home, the families, that is where you know, like, I'm still loved, I'm still worthy, like I can get all of this energy out and like we're still all here together. So I think that just having that disconnect where it's making these great gains in these other settings, like how can we transfer that to home? And so really supporting families with providing adequate recommendations that are also cost effective to meet the needs and to help transfer their goals and their skills that they're working on in all these other areas. I think that's one thing that we see pretty commonly.
Yeah. And I mean, that's definitely true, where even from a school day, right? They hold it together and then they get home and the parents are like, what do I do to support this child, right? They're dysregulated, and I really don't have the tools, or I don't, it's not accessible to me, right? I don't have a place to go. And of course, we're always promoting outdoor time, but that's not always feasible up here in the upper Midwest, where we can have really hot days and really cold days. And so what can we do at home? So thank you for that. And when we think about just some general tips, maybe, or things that we could share with families when setting up a sensory motor rich environment at home for indoor and or outdoor, what would you kind of suggest to them to be thinking about?
That's a great question. And that's kind of where in our packages, the first step is like a sensory motor history. And so we kind of go through the space and the child. And so that's kind of where I'm going to start here is looking at a space, whether it's indoor or outdoor, that your child flourishes in, that is exploratory, that's engaged, excited, and that's easily accessible. So finding that kind of space, whether it's a closet, a basement, a small room, outside in the backyard, a corner in the backyard, behind the shed, all those different things to kind of assess and kind of say, where do they gravitate towards?
Yeah.
And then to kind of assess the environment. What's around there? What maybe are they seeking? What are they like defensive about? What kind of things would maybe promote engagement? And then we really look at the sensory systems, and that's super important to collaborate with your ongoing OT or our team, and we work collaboratively with them as well to look at what their sensory system's doing, how it's performing in different circumstances, and what things such as tools, items, natural habitat stuff outside that we can do to increase that engagement and regulation throughout a child's day. So all of those three things kind of incorporated can create a very comfortable and fluid space for somebody to regulate their body in.
So I just have a follow-up question, because I want them to be able to kind of visualize what it might look like. And so when you say a space, what are we going to be putting in that space potentially? And we as OTs know we have these amazing tools that we use in therapy. Can you just speak to, like, if they had to visualize families, what it would look like, what might be some things? And I know it is probably individualized based on the child's sensory motor needs, as you mentioned, but like, what kinds of things might go into a sensory space?
For sure.
That's a great
Well,
question.
I will go into maybe an outdoor space, and then Alexi can kind of go on an indoor. We can kind of show you
Sure.
a little bit of both. So an outdoor space, for example, we had one client that was wheelchair bound, and the wheelchair was only able to go on the cement patio outside. So we looked at the different assessment of what the kid was intrigued with, what sensory systems were functioning fluidly and which ones needed some assistance with. And so out there we did the little different pinwheels for movement and visual activities. We did a big like chalkboard that they could roll up to, and their wheelchair could go under, and they had different accessible utensils and things, built up crayons, different chalk things, so different mediums to engage upon. There was a water fountain out there, and so it had different ways it flows, like a river and things, and they could also wheel up. A lot of it was really thinking about accessibility, and how can this child get to these things and independently participate as much as possible. So those were just a few of the things, but really looking at that child's needs specifically and how they can engage outdoors.
I love that. So it's not just like a sensory motor kind of gym. You're also looking at accessibility and ensuring every child has access to engagement, participation, and, child-led kind of activities that are fun. So I love that. I love that. All right, Alexi, then you're going to take us indoors and what that might look like.
Yeah, so like Marlee said, and like you've kind of reiterated here too, every single space that we do is very unique to the unique sensory motor history of the people who are using the spaces. And so with that, we really like to look at, is your child like jumping and crashing? When they get home, are they like flying up the walls, jumping on the couches, trying to crash into things? Okay, well then we're gonna want more things that are gonna allow for that big body movement, that proprioceptive input, where you can really kind of get that out in a safe and functional way. So we might add in some crash pads. There might be a rock wall or some monkey bars, different features depending on what's available in the home as far as space goes to help support that. And it's not to say you need to go buy all of these different things. If you have a child who's wanting to jump and crash, okay, do we have some pillows? Let's go grab all of them, make a big pile, and they can jump and crash right into those pillows. We also take a look at, like Marlee said, the different sensory systems and how they're influencing calming and regulation too. So when we think about calming and regulation, we oftentimes will think about oral motor input and three-dimensional growth expansion. As occupational therapists, we use it in our practice a lot, but we also incorporate these different elements into our spaces. So finding different ways, whether it be encouraging families to grab a popcorn bowl and a straw and put some soapy water into it and take big breaths to make a bubble mountain. That's a great, easy tool you can do inside or outside, even just with what you have on hand. But we really look at each individual sensory system and we figure out, okay, what is your child seeking on a regular basis and what's going to help your child really thrive in their environment to help be more regulated or support with academics or whatever the overall goal is. So it might be swings, it might be big movement areas, it might just be a little small space retreat. We've done even the corner of a closet. If you've got a kiddo who they retreat to this tiny corner in their closet, okay, how can we make that space more functional for them? Because if that's where they're going, let's tailor that, right?
Wow.
So really
Awesome.
meeting.
Yeah, so I like that you also just encourage or discuss some of those low tech or looking at what's already there in the environment and to source that maybe first or in addition to, and not going right to the high tech or the full on implementation of all these amazing tools. So awesome. So I love that. So I think the next thing is so you kind of talked about your business and what you do, but let's get into a few more of those details. How does someone contact you? And so kind of what is the first step if somebody is like, oh, I would love this. It's summertime and maybe I could get some support with something. What's the first step for them to do to kind of get in touch with you?
Great question. When it comes to our business, we are very transparent on our website. And so starting there, go explore it, go see some of the transformations that have happened indoor and outdoor. Our packages are laid out there. So we have 3 different package options from consultation with verbal recommendations all the way up to a 3D rendering. So you can see how the space would look with a proposal and rationales to installation. So you can kind of see it. You can see the pricing on there, very transparent as well as just photos and who we are as people and as occupational therapists. So you feel more confident in what we're doing. On there, there is a contact button. And so you can contact us through there. And that kind of starts the initiation process. And we then would go forward with an email regarding some intake paperwork and a consultation. We also are very active on our social media, so primarily on Instagram and Facebook. So you can reach out there if that's a better method of communication for you. And then we can connect via email or phone call. Sometimes people just want to talk on the phone and get their questions answered. They're like, I don't know if this would be beneficial for me or not. Can we chat a little bit to see before I would proceed forward? And we are very open to that and would love to connect with you as well.
Awesome. All right. Any lasting thoughts? Otherwise, this is Sensational Spaces. And this is Marlee and Alexi who have identified a need for families and have really taken that on, knowing that therapeutic intervention and support can happen on the home front too with some guidance. And so I'm just excited that they are offering this service. So one more thing I did have a question about, if you have a radius, because I am in Hudson, Wisconsin. And so do you have a radius that you serve?
So we actually service globally, which is fantastic. Our 3 package options really allow for that flexibility and where we're able to work with people not just in Minnesota where we're located, but we've done projects as close as literally our next door neighbor through as far as a consultation in Dublin, Ireland. So we really transcend that boundary as far as in-person installations. There is a different, there's a little bit of a travel radius where if you're beyond that 25 miles of where we're located, there's additional travel fees. But that's something that we always are very upfront about. We give you options that are more cost effective as well, where we don't have to keep coming back out to your house to do these different things. So you don't have to pay for us to come out for the consultation and then again to come out for the installation. We can work with you guys to really help meet whatever it is that your budget is and whatever it is that your needs are. We're not going to recommend a package 3 where we come out and install if you really just want the recommendations. We're going to help steer you in the right direction to meet your needs.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Anything else that you would like to share here or that I might have left out?
Feel
No?
free to check out our blogs, our social media content. We're constantly putting out different free information for families, resources. If something's not there and you want to know more about it, send us over a message and either one of us or one of our students can help support you in that way too. But we're just excited for this connection and to hopefully connect with some more of you all with Rainbow Tree.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate
Thank
your
you,
time.
Lisa.
Yep.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Lisa.